The Big Picture, a Christian insight on the world of film, television and popular culture with magazine editor Ben McEachern and scriptwriter Mark Hadley. 3D glasses on, amps to 11, screens to maximum. Get ready for The Big Picture.
Mark, we're up to now showing for this week, and you're bringing to us a movie that you saw in the past couple of weeks. When was it released at cinemas? Last week? I think
it's only been out since last Thursday.
Yeah, and a bit of a shocking one, an intense one. There are some films that are just not for the faint-hearted, and that doesn't mean you don't watch them if you get the chance to. And Room, the film that we're speaking about, is definitely one of those. This fictional story about a young woman who's abducted and forced to bear and raise her captor's child. And this film sadly reflects the realities of many young women held hostage by their kidnappers, sometimes for decades at a time. Hollywood actually, if you can believe this, does a good job drawing our attention to these horrors. However, what Room fails to include from the original book, the book that it's based on, is the spiritual life that never deserted its main character.
For 5 years, you made life in that small room, that prison, as nurturing and normal as you could.
Mom, I'm 5. You're 5.
So old now.
You are so old now.
Yep.
Hey, do you know what we're gonna do today?
What?
We are going to bake a birthday cake.
You chose to tell Jack that Room was the whole world, that there was nothing else.
Good morning, lamp. Good morning, plant. Good morning, sink.
I wanted him to feel safe and that it was a great place for him to live.
Did you ever think you would be free?
I hoped.
Hello, Jack.
Thanks for saving our little girl.
It's a powerful film. There's no two ways about it. When I actually heard about the concept of Room, I actually rushed out and got the book. The book which actually, the screenplay was written by the author as well. The book was a New York Times bestseller, and it sat on the book New York Times bestselling list for an immense amount of weeks. It is the story of a composite story, we call it. It's something like new journalism, where a whole lot of sort of factual events are built into one fictional story. So in the news over the decades, we've actually heard about people who've been kidnapped, raised as children by people who they've been kidnapped by, or imprisoned and forced to bear the children of their captors. In this case, we have Brie Larson playing this character called Ma. Okay, and Ma has given birth at some stage to young Jack, who's played by Jacob Tremblay, and his only world is defined by this sort of 12-foot by 12-foot room. And so Mum makes choices.
And he's never been outside.
He's never been outside. He doesn't he doesn't know what the outside is. And Mum has made some choices. She wants to raise Jack as best she can, knowing that they might never leave this room. She wants to give him the best possible experience as a child. So what she does, she makes choices about what she'll tell him, what she won't. And one of the things is that the outside is just a series of pictures. You might glimpse it through a TV screen, but that's just TV. TV isn't real. The sky is just sky. It's a small patch of blue that they see through a skylight, but that's it. And so in this world, Jack actually becomes particularly associated with and in love with all the small elements of his world. To him, this world is rich. He says hello to Mr. Lamp each morning and to Mr. Fridge. He talks to the rug. He's not in any way demented or in any way lacking in mental faculty. He's in fact actually survived this experience because his mother has loved him enough to try and make a world within this tiny world.
Why would someone want to go see this? Like, I know you found this a disturbing, quite heart-wrenching experience. Why would someone want to go?
Look, I think a good reason to begin with is to understand that our world does not have to be defined by what we have or what we don't have. You can actually be quite human and loving and amazing with the smallest of resources. I think this is a terribly powerful film. It's true. It's hard to get away from, in some moments, the trepidation and the fear. But in some respects, it's also a very triumphant story. It's about what a woman has been able to achieve through love for the sake of her child. And look, to be honest, even just the concept of having a single set for 2 hours of a film. Jack Tremblay plays an amazing... I've seldom seen a child actor this good.
He's nominated for an Oscar, isn't he? So is Brie Larson.
He is. She is too.
He should go close, even though it's the year of Leonardo DiCaprio, and they're going to give it to him for
They're probably
Revenant
gonna give it
as
to him,
like a just because thank you for your whole career, Leonardo. We should have given you one earlier.
So let's make up for it now.
But this young lad, I heard, is scorching on screen.
He's incredibly good. Look, even if you wanted to see it as a film experience, I'd recommend it, but I think you should go for more than that. I think you're going to find a great story.
Now, given you are one of those guys who does read the book first, Mark, I'm definitely not one of those people, but you are.
Yeah, I'm far too much.
What are the differences? Because it sounds like you really like the movie. It doesn't sound you mustn't have too many gripes about it then.
Here's the thing. I really love the film. I think the film is great. I think that the film is a victim, though, of the Hollywood system, because one of the strongest things in the book is the spirituality of Ma and how she teaches Jack. See, one of the important things she decides not to let go, she thinks of all the things she might or might not tell him about, she must raise him understanding that there is a God who loves him and that we should thank God for the things that we have. And he talks to Jesus and he understands that. He has a strong relationship with God, even though there's very little she can teach him about God in that context.
So Ma and her son are close with God in that room,
Absolutely.
in that little sheltered universe, in the one world room.
Yeah.
They're close?
And one of the disappointing things with the film is that they cut all of that out because I guess it just doesn't fit a worldview today to say that if you are going to tell your child about anything in a terrible circumstance, you teach him to love God. Many people, and in fact the film
As
version
in you wouldn't
does
do
this.
that if you're in a terrible circumstance. You definitely wouldn't teach them about God.
In the film version, what they actually do is they put in the more common approach, which is to say, gee, you've suffered a terrible life, you must have thought God had deserted you. But the book has it completely the other way around, which is she is in a terrible circumstance, but the one thing she won't let go of is God. Yeah, and to me, I think that's a very encouraging thing. So look, great film. What I would do is encourage you to read the book.
And just to go and see the film if you can withstand. Room is predictably rated M for mature themes and coarse language, but it's more heart-rending than harrowing.
Yes, it's not terrifying. It is emotional.
It's just emotionally draining. The film stars, as you mentioned, Brie Larson and the incredibly talented Jacob Tremblay. That kid's probably going to go a long way. It opened last week at selected cinemas, and as we keep saying, well worth a look.
Well worth it.
Mate, what's coming up later on the show?
Well, actually, before I get to that, I should just point out...
sorry, I'm moving on way too quick.
In Eternity is one of the great supporters of our show. And look, Eternity is a national newspaper for Christians. We've actually got some material which we popped into Eternity for you. So if you'd like to read more on Spotlight, which is a film we were talking about last week, or Room, which is the one that I just talked about then, I've got 2 articles in the edition of Eternity coming up and online, so you can go see them there. And we just recommend that you read and think through. They're both powerful films, Spotlight and Room.
The Big Picture is a Bible Society Australia production and part of Hope 1032's family of podcasts and vodcasts.